Tongyan, whose pen name is Yang Tianshui. Yang Tongyan, whose pen name is Yang Tianshui, is a dissident writer and a member of the Independent Chinese Pen Center. He was arrested without a warrant on December 23, 2005 in Nanjing and held incommunicado until January 17, 2006. Yang was convicted of subversion of state power for posting anti-government articles on the internet and organizing branches of the China Democracy Party, and was sentenced to 12 years in prison. This is Mr. Yang's second long stay in prison. He was jailed for a decade, from 1990 to 2000 on, quote, counter-revolutionary, unquote, charges for his involvement in the 1989 pro-democracy protests. He was a recipient of the 2008 Penn Barbara Goldsmith Freedom to Write Award. Like 30 of the other 44 writers and journalists currently in prison in China, Yang Tongyan is a cyber dissident who has paid a heavy price for challenging China's strict internet censorship. His principal crime is posting articles like the two I'm about to read on overseas websites. These two pieces appeared in Epoch Times. From China Permitted with Fear, special to the Epoch Times, November 2nd, 2005. According to recent report by Epoch Times, quote, a tragic incident occurred on Tuesday, October 25th, at a primary school in Guannatang, Tongyan County, Sichuan Province. The light suddenly went off as the students were leaving the classroom after the evening study period. The hallway turned pitch dark, which touched off panic among the students. As they rushed down the stairs, some students fell down and a surge of others tumbled over them, unable to stop as more students pushed from above, resulting in the tragedy. By 11:30 a.m., the stampede death toll had increased to 10. Those injured were still in a serious condition, unquote. In the blaze at Kalamai in 1996, the death of several hundred school children was also primarily sparked by panic. On the night of the blaze, some local officials were watching the children's performance. As the fire took hold, the frightened, quote, public servants, unquote, fled. The crowd was pushed, squeezed, and crushed. Many of the children were trampled underfoot before being burned to death. If anyone had remained calm and made an orderly exit, the tragedy could have been averted. Fear flows everywhere in China. The farmers are in fear of losing their livelihoods because of land scarcity or possible forced land acquisitions. The jobless laborers are in fear of inadequate social welfare. Government officials are in fear of losing their power. Corrupt officials are in fear of conflict from fellow officials or disciplinary action by law enforcement agencies. The fear pervades the entire society. Many officials bribe their superiors for fear of losing their positions. They become corrupt, take bribes, gang together for self-interest, abuse the law, and practice favoritism. The worst are those of the old guard. They try every way they can to suppress human and civil rights for fear of persecution should they lose their power. They have been clamping down on democratic movement, arguing that the present national condition is not suited for democracy, that it takes more time to get ready for a democratic system, and that citizens lack of the moral fiber for democracy. All these are just their excuses. What they really want is to suppress democracy. They wantonly suppress freedom and democracy because they are in fear of their future. They are just like those great school students trampling on one another in the dark. The second one is from Zhao Ziyangs, quote, "Serious mistake," unquote, is actually his greatest contribution. The Epoch Times, February 1st, 2005. During the state memorial service for the late Zhao Ziyang, the former pro-democracy leader of China, some high-ranking CPC officials who were present stated that while Zhao had made contributions to China's economic freedom, he had also made a, quote, "serious mistake," unquote. It was a strange memorial service. Beijing was on high alert with police and police cars everywhere, as though some great imminent danger was approaching. Many regular civilians and dissidents were blocked from the ceremony. Why fear allowing people to remember Zhao's legacy? Or perhaps the authorities fear that if too many people showed up on the street, the crowd would push and trample one another and cause injuries. Or perhaps they fear that people would use this opportunity to call out loudly together for freedom and democracy. What, quote, "serious mistake," unquote, did Zhao make? Readers know full well the government meant that during the great wave of the 1989 China democracy movement, Zhao was pro-democracy and resolutely opposed the leadership's decision to use violence on Chinese people who took peaceful and rational measures to pursue freedom and democracy. In fact, this serious mistake is actually Zhao's contribution to history. This serious mistake involved the pursuit of fundamental political reform to push China into democracy. The serious mistake was a position to mobilize in the army to kill civilians. Zhao's historical accomplishment was based on his conscientious and vision for China. Confucius said, "If the will be set on virtue, there will be no habit of wickedness." Zhao is exactly what Confucius referred to as a person whose will was set on virtue. If readers and the members of the CCP would see Zhao Ziyang as a role model, the party could represent the most advanced elements of Chinese culture and the basic interests of people. Otherwise, the party will simply continue to pull ridiculous acts.